The all-new BetParks Casino and Sportsbook app is here. BetParks is a sanctuary where odds, bets, slots, and games all come together in perfect harmony, right in your pocket. Got to be 21 and in Pennsylvania or New Jersey. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Time now for more headlines from Smerconish.com, the newsletter.
Hang on. Have some more questions and responses. I know we talked about John Anderson earlier and what you did last night, but people are just going crazy on Instagram and Facebook and really appreciating the feeling in that venue at the Keswick last night. And I want to know just a little bit more about the demo, who was there.
The demo?
Yeah, like
the demo? I'm the demo.
You're the demo.
I'm the demo.
Age?
The demo are, 60-ish, mostly men, but not exclusively.
Are you 60?
We could all stand to drop a few. And amazing how many at the Keswick Theater last night came out wearing a Yes t-shirt from the glory days.
What were you wearing?
Just a black tee, nondescript.
Did you?
I was very incognito, TC.
Did you get any merch?
No.
What? What kind of a night is that for you?
The merch was a little lacking. It was a tiny deficiency in an otherwise spectacular evening. John Anderson's voice was pitch perfect.
It's incredible.
And the teenagers from the Paul Green Rock Academy were phenomenal.
Yeah.
They gave John Anderson life. He inspired them, and we in the audience just drew on the whole experience. Honestly, TC, I told you this before. If I had seen John Anderson last night and the remnants, what's left of Yes, I would not have had as much fun as I had watching 15, 16, 17-year-olds, 20 of them
I know.
on stage at once. Look at my social media, playing classic rock, loving it, dressed for the part, beautifully playing. They were phenomenal. And if I don't bring this up to sell tickets, because I don't even know, although I have a suspicion how it ends, I can address that. I'm not even sure how extensive this tour is, but for God's sakes, if you have the opportunity to watch what I watched last night, and I know the feeling, like you're leaving the house and it's like, oh my God, I'm old. Why am I doing this? I have to work. Believe me, you're not getting up the following morning as early as I got up today. TC can attest to it.
What's funny is that I got up this morning and there were about 17 emails because, you came home last night and obviously sent some news links over.
Couldn't just go to bed
past midnight.
I was wired.
But you still are. And I think it's a testament to the energy that show had.
It's so true.
You rolled in here buoyant, like alive, awake.
I know.
Like, how is that possible?
I know.
Hey, I just pulled up their schedule. So they were just at the Keswick. They're going to be in Kent, Ohio, the Kent stage. They're going to be in, I'm going to mispronounce this, Des Plaines, DES, then PLAINES, Illinois. They're going to Greensburg, Pennsylvania, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, St. Charles, Illinois, State College, PA, and Albany, New York.
Go. And if there's any doubt in your mind, let me push you over the edge.
You will feel alive.
On the 50th anniversary of Close to the Edge. And by the way, I think maybe it's not yet announced, and maybe I shouldn't say anything, but I think they're going to wrap up right where we are in Ardmore, Pennsylvania.
What?
Yeah, I think so. So keep an eye out for that.
Fantastic.
Anyway, all right, I can talk about that for
yes, you could all day long.
3 more hours. Yesterday's survey results: should the 376 law enforcement individuals who responded to the Uvalde shooting be publicly identified? More than 10,000 voted. Interesting. 57.56%, let's call it 60-40, said no. No, don't go identify. It's not fair to them to identify the 300. We know the hand sanitizer guy. We know a few of the other identities, but by a 60-40 vote, those who went to Smerconish.com and cast ballots yesterday said, nah, don't out them. Don't name the Uvalde law enforcement. Today's survey question, I made this the survey question because tonight's the night where the January 6th committee is going to focus on the 187, is it 187, TC? 187 minutes
so, yes,
that elapsed before Trump did something on January 6th. And, we learned this week that Merrick Garland has extended a Bill Barr policy. I think it's older than Bill Barr in terms of not wanting to indict someone close to an election. And CNN's reporting says that the investigation of Hunter Biden is really reaching a peak. So I put Hunter Biden and Donald Trump into the question when asking, should the midterm elections impact the timing of any potential Justice Department charges against Trump or Biden? You heard Renato Mariotti on this subject. I mean, Hunter Biden and Donald Trump's names are not on the ballot in November. So to what extent should Merrick Garland be thinking about the midterm elections when evaluating either of them? Also, this pertains to one of my other day jobs. Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski in secret talks to save CNN, says Radar Online.
Okay, so my question to you is this, and that is the headline on this at Smerconish.com and on the newsletter is fake news.
Fake news.
What, do you know a little something?
No.
Oh.
No, I don't know anything other than I'm totally out of every loop, but I don't believe any of it.
Why? This is Chris Licht started Morning Joe,
well,
right?
for not the least of which reason is they just re-upped at MSNBC.
So?
And I think it's just an easy story to write. Like, hey, Licht was the original executive producer of the morning show when they launched Morning Joe. He knows these people. He worked with them. Blah, 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 blah. No way. Do I see
Radar Online said that he tried to get them to come over for the CBS morning show instead of Gayle King.
I don't know what the contractual obligations were at that time. I don't know, but I don't believe this.
Okay.
I do not believe this. And I'll tell you who has pretty extensive reporting on the whole situation in terms of what's going on at CNN. I'll say this, TC. Despite the fact that I've been at CNN 8 years, hosting my own program, the person who knows much more about what's going on at CNN than I do is Dylan Byers at Puck.
Yes.
Has like a direct pipeline.
Who's he talking to?
I don't know.
Someone.
I mean, he's not talking to me because I couldn't give him anything.
I know, but he's talking to someone who knows. Yes.
So I don't rely on, I don't even get the company emails because I don't have a company email address.
They have to be forwarded to us.
So yeah, they have to be forwarded. Like, it's true.
I know
it's absolutely true. So everything I know about CNN, I get from Dylan Byers. And Dylan Byers doesn't believe that Mika and Joe are in any kind of talk to go over to CNN.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But it's got to be good for the whole, for them.
Oh, it's got to be good for Joe and Mika when it's contract time to ask for, a few more digits.
Right, exactly. I thought I don't think this one made Smerconish.com, the newsletter, but thought it was interesting that Chris Cuomo is going to sit down with Dan Abrams for News Nation.
Yes, so I agree.
It says Chris Cuomo will sit down with News Nation host Dan Abrams next Tuesday for his first interview since he was fired by CNN last year. Abrams, who we all know from POTUS, obviously, but also founded Mediaite, which is where this piece ran, teased the exclusive in a promo for the one-on-one, saying Cuomo will answer questions about what he's been doing since he left primetime and what he plans to do next. He will be answering tough questions about his past.
Oh, look, I know from speaking to Chris, not recently, it's been a few months since I last spoke to Chris, but Chris gives no quarter about his departure and any whiff of impropriety. I mean,
so this interview should be interesting though, because
it'll be interesting because unless Chris has changed his perspective, the Chris I know is the Chris you see publicly, which is I didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
I did nothing wrong. I'm a brother.
Yeah.
I was a good brother to my brother. I didn't do anything journalistically unethical. And I didn't deserve this.
Right.
So, we'll see what Dan's questioning is like and how Chris responds to it.
Right.
I know that Chris was recently, Chris has teased in social media that he's on the verge of announcing something big.
Right. He's been in Ukraine.
Right. And I saw that he was in sort of, the very dicey, war-torn parts of the easternmost regions of Ukraine. And seemingly, wants to play, wants to be involved, doesn't. My impression is Chris could just sit on the beach in Long Island if he wanted to.
Exactly, go fishing.
But he clearly wants to be involved, and I guess this is the first of a reemergence.
Well, I wonder if it is also will he end up on News Nation? Kind of interesting, given that that's where the first broadcast is.
Yeah. Listen, I think that's Dan's network.
Yes,
I don't know.
Dan's the whole point.
Dan's like everywhere.
Dan is everywhere. It
Right.
is his network, and it's supposed to be right down the middle, and I just think it could be an interesting fit. I'm putting it out there.
I use the word reemergence. Today is also a day of reemergence for John Fetterman, who's the Democratic nominee for U.S. Senate here in Pennsylvania. Dr. Oz, of course, is the Republican nominee. Yesterday, Wednesday morning, he did his first interview with the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. And today, President Biden will be in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, doing an event that's about crime. And then before he goes to Delaware, I guess for the weekend, he's the president coming to Philadelphia and will attend a Democratic fundraiser. And that's where Fetterman will now publicly be seen. This is interesting, TC. In the interview with the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, here's from the Post-Gazette. In the Wednesday morning interview, Mr. Fetterman used closed captioning on the call to make sure he didn't miss any words. His campaign spokesman said afterward, information that was disclosed at Mr. Fetterman's urging for the sake of being totally transparent. The Post-Gazette was given a 20-minute time frame to conduct the interview. I haven't seen the video. I went to the Post-Gazette website. I can't find it if they've published it.
I can't find it either. So I don't think it's out there.
But, you know, the interview in the Post-Gazette, the written narrative sounded like, and this is a wonderful thing, that Fetterman's made a full recovery and he's, you know, back on his feet, walking miles and taking the kids to school or taking to their friend's house. But I have to say, when I got to that line, he used closed captioning on the call to make sure he didn't miss any words.
Right.
I don't know, gave me some pause.
Well, what it said in the article is that he struggles with his hearing sometimes, so that he's working with a therapist to get that back. He had a stroke.
Yeah,
I mean, he had a stroke.
Right.
The ramifications can be far worse than what he's dealing with. But it sounds like his physical ability is back.
Yeah.
His cognitive, his brain is fine. It's just that sometimes he misses. This is what I found it. It says, Mr. Fetterman says he has no physical limits, as you said, walking 4 to 5 miles every day in 90-degree heat, understands words and hasn't lost any of his memory. He struggles with hearing sometimes, he said, and may, quote, miss a word or, quote, slur two together, but says it doesn't happen often and he's working with a speech therapist. That actually makes me feel better. If he just said, I'm totally fine, no big deal,
well,
and then you
caught
something.
That was, I agree with what you've said about how he's handling it today. But I find that to be at odds with the lack of disclosure when it happened.
Maybe he's learned.
Right. Maybe he's learned, but they were not as forthcoming initially. Anyway, speaking of the president and speech, yesterday he's in Massachusetts. He's in Somerset. They're doing a climate-related event. The president appears to either misspeak or casually announce that he has cancer. I have the words. Do you have the audio?
I do have the audio.
Oh, why don't you just play it?
You know, it's a long. Do you want me to play just the very end? Just sort of like a long build-up.
Right.
All right.
Please.
Here you go. Something like it sounds something that. Oh, you know what? It's not playing through here. I apologize.
I lived just up the road in an apartment complex when we moved to Delaware, and just up the road, a little school I went to, Holy Rosary Grade School. And because it was a 4-lane highway that was accessible, my mother drove us. And rather than us be able to walk, guess what? The first frost, you know what was happening? You had to put on your windshield wipers to get literally the oil slick off the window. That's why I and so many damn other people grew up, have cancer, reading it literally, and why for the longest time Delaware had the highest cancer rate in the nation. His comments then prompted the White House to clarify the president's comments, which suggested that he currently has cancer. He doesn't. Glenn Kessler, the fact checker from the Washington Post, got involved, pointed to, he tweeted a tweet by the RNC pointing out Biden's remark. Kessler, the fact checker, said that was dumb because the White House had previously said he had non-melanoma skin cancers removed. However, the fact that Biden was speaking in the present tense, so it was more than fair to ask for clarification. I agree with that. Sesame. We've got to talk about Sesame Place, because that's the theme park on the outskirts of Philadelphia where there's controversy, because if you look at Rosita, who's one of the Sesame Street characters, you know, probably a kid in a uniform. We don't know who's in that uniform. We do know that a lawyer representing a family that includes 2 African-American girls wants the character fired because they say the character was discriminatory. What I find interesting about this is that it's a Rorschach test. And in our sort of thumbnail for YouTube, we call it a Rorschach test because I'm looking at comments both on my Facebook page and in other media about this, and people are seeing totally different things in it. Some people are seeing discriminatory behavior on the part of the Sesame Place character for not wanting to embrace or hold or acknowledge two young black girls. And others are saying, no, the character is looking beyond them at somebody else, doesn't want to hold their kids or somebody else's kids. It's only a snippet. You can't evaluate it. A lawyer now is involved and representing the family. The family's attorney rejected the explanation offered by Sesame Place, calling it bogus. Quote, "We reject any notion that the performers' actions were not short of intentional. How come they could see everybody else?" That's in response to the idea that the kid in the costume couldn't see all of what was going on. Throughout the news conference on Wednesday, the lawyer claimed this is not about money. We don't want these kids dragged through a lawsuit. He pointed out that one of the 6-year-old girls who was filmed reaching toward Rosita as the character walked by last weekend, no other kid should go through what these kids went through. And he threatened that he will release further evidence showing that Rosita embraced a white child next to them after the 9-second clip ends. I'm curious to see, is there other video that could piece this together?
I bet there's other video. I mean, think about that kind of parade. You know what I mean? There've got to be other people, other parents that have video.
The lawyer says that he's got evidence of 25 to 30 other black families with similar incidents at the same theme park over the years. And in other theme park news, Disney fans are now outraged after Fairy Godmother was ditched for gender-neutral titles, although it's not so clear to me that it was totally ditched. Do you understand this story?
Okay, well, it seems to me, I saw the headline. I thought, they're getting rid of Fairy Godmother? Oh, no. What is it going to be, like Fairy Godperson? What are we talking about here? But no, what it is evidently there are these salons in Disney where kids can be made up as princesses or knights or whatever you want to be, and what they're going to, and the employees that do the makeovers are called, or used to be called, fairy godmothers in training.
Okay.
So in other words, like their next step would be a fairy godmother, a female character.
After they're trained.
Right.
Now what?
So now they're going to be called fairy godmothers, *S, apprentice. So that it's a gender neutral term, so that someone who doesn't identify as female, an employee who doesn't identify as female, can be in that position.
I don't think I understand. So they're saying, well, you may not end up as a fairy godmother, but you're an apprentice to be a fairy godmother.
You're an apprentice of the fairy godmother. Right.
Okay. Things are confusing. I
just want everybody to be happy.
Okay, well, I don't
want to offend anybody.
Final story that kind of relates to all of this. Dave Chappelle, I'm reading from the Star Tribune, trans rights protesters heat up the scene, apparently had to move theaters because of protest. He was going to perform at one theater on Wednesday night. He ended up performing at a different theater where eventually he was going to perform, but it's all because of a protest. The summer heat jumped a few degrees outside the Varsity Theater in Minneapolis on Wednesday night, as fans lining up to see the comedian Dave Chappelle were met by about 50 protesters who shouted and chanted and waved signs in support of transgender rights. Both sides engaged in animated and sometimes profane exchanges, at times standing only inches apart. "I wasn't expecting these kinds of numbers," said Aaron Bell of Minneapolis, a show goer who was hit by an egg thrown from a screaming man that onlookers believed wasn't part of the protest. The show was hastily moved to the Varsity from First Avenue, one venue to another venue, after the music club announced that it was scrapping the show just hours before the comic was scheduled to take the stage. Chappelle was already booked to appear at the Varsity on Thursday and Friday. So it sounds to me like a venue, because of the protest and the blowback, said, We're done. We don't want Chappelle here tonight.
I think that's what it sounds like. How does it
By the way, I don't approve of that. I mean, why'd you book him to begin with? You didn't know what you were getting? So anyway, great news, great headlines, lots of good stuff. And of course, the front page news is all covered today at Smerconish.com as well. So thank you for subscribing to the daily newsletter, for watching the presentation on YouTube, and of course, listening on POTUS. See you tomorrow.